Yes, I am late. Yes, I had some technical issues. I technically could have been on the air had I not been speaking to people about necessary answers to your questions. And then also ran into an issue with my internal network. But reboot started that one, or resolved that. All right. I should now be on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Let me just kind of take this a little slow, make sure I'm actually live on all the things here today before I get talking too much. But let me say hello, Druid's Fire. How you doing?
I'm alright. How are you?
Not too bad. How does Friday of the year 2019, month May, day the 3rd, find you? I'm live on Facebook. All right. People are talking about cheese. I am down for watching a block of cheese, but that is not why I'm late. Like I said, actually had stuff going on here today. I don't know that I'm actually going to be playing a whole lot today. I think I might, frankly, just do some Q&A. Probably fill most of the time with that. Maybe even cut it a little short so I can kind of get back to messaging work and things like that. So, hello, everyone. Hello and welcome to Court of the Rings here on twitch.tv/Lotro stream, youtube.com/Lord of the Rings/live, and facebook.com/Lotro. I am Lotro's community manager, Cordovan, and I'm here on a Friday, just kind of hanging out, getting some stuff done. I'm probably going to do some Q&A. I don't know if I'm actually going to make it onto the live worlds today. I might just do some Q&A and then head back to messaging work. What kind of messaging am I talking about? Well, for many of you, you're fine. You know, when you look at the population of the game, frankly, most folks are okay at this point. But there was a DNS issue yesterday involving one of our content servers, essentially, that needed to be addressed. And in addressing that, the DNS of that server changed. And so there are some folks who are reporting and have been reporting for about 24 hours or so now, an inability to log in, or problems kind of getting into the game otherwise, or patching up the game client. Ultimately, I think we may be looking at more than one thing that happened here, but the solution is basically the same. So let me kind of talk a little bit about what's going on. So first off, as of yesterday afternoon, we updated that DNS information. Everything is good internally, and that information is being propagated sort of by two ISPs. So once local ISPs kind of do whatever they process they typically do on a schedule to collect an updated DNS information, when that is updated, you should be fine. However, there are also a subset of folks who are having problems patching, and there's a couple of things we can mention about that. If you're in a place where you, for about 24 hours now, let's say, or some variation thereof, have been unable to log in or patch the game client, it is likely you will need to do a full reinstallation of the game. We are looking in our internal environment, literally as I speak, which is part of the reason I was 10 minutes late here, to double check and make sure that everything is set in the environment correctly. But all signs currently point to yes on that. And we've got a healthy population in all of our games. So overall, things are in a pretty good place. But if you are obviously impacted, it's a pretty significant issue. So what you may want to do is reinstall the game. One other piece of information, though. This is less of an issue on the Lord of the Rings side, although it is still potentially an issue, than it is on the other game side. But a while back, I guess it was at least a month or so now on the Lord of the Rings Online side, We changed the base installation to no longer use Akamai Net Session on initial download. We haven't used Akamai regularly in the game other than the very first initial download in quite some time, but it was still there for a while. But Akamai Net Session has largely gone away as of April 30th. At least that's my understanding. I'm not techie, so maybe I'm totally wrong there. But either way, we had a deadline basically to no longer sort of serve from Akamai Net Session as of April 30th here. So we did that work, like I said, it was over a month ago now on the Lotro side. And for almost everybody, it's just a seamless issue, right? Because you're just going to patch up your game client and everything patches up fine and you're fine. And if you need to, it's going to, at some point, move that stuff out. But if you are particularly running into a patching issue and you are using an old base installation link, that old lotrolive.exe. If maybe you got one of those things that's been kicking around in your download folder of your Windows 10 computer for a year and a half now, or frankly anything older than about a month, you should get a fresh version of that and do the reinstallation using that fresh version. So just go to lotro.com, click on download, and download a fresh base kind of exe there. Like I say, for most folks, you won't have to do any of this sort of stuff, and most folks are not having to run into any of these issues. But if you are, that is one thing you may wish to try. Otherwise, we have seen some people, the community this is not the first time we've had DNS issues with various parts of the .com side of things. And historically in the past, some people have kind of worked around perhaps a local ISP slowness or whatever other kind of reason they may choose to do so by putting that information, that updated DNS information directly into their host's file. And if you're like, the what file? Then just don't worry about it. But if you're like, oh yeah, I should have done that, or I did do that, make sure that you remove that information, let's say in a week or whatever long it takes for your ISP to update information, because I still, on a near weekly basis, actually pretty much just about once a week, I still get tickets that end up in my personal queue because it's a Lotro.com forums access issue. And the issue is they still have old, outdated DNS information in their host file. So don't let that be you. It may resolve things if you're techie enough short term, but make sure you exclude or otherwise remove that information in a timely manner. All right, so let's see. They say we're double checking, well, triple checking really, the environment to make sure that we are offering, say, the right version of the game client and all that sort of thing, and all signs point to yes on that. So the issue for those of you who are still running into an issue is either probably one of an outdated base installation or somehow related to DNS, the DNS changeover, which, like I said, this is not the first time that this has happened. So my personal experience, having sort of seen this, about 3 times now or so, is that it sometimes just takes a couple of days for local ISPs to update their DNS info, especially when you start kind of looking globally and all that sort of stuff. That's not how you pronounce Akamai. I only know it just because of all the business dealings, right? So I hear executives and stuff use the word, so that's how I learned how to say it. Yeah. Okay. What is Akamai being replaced with? Good question. I don't even know if it's being replaced with anything per se. I think it's just not utilizing that particular service. I'm not quite sure. I don't know. That's a question for someone I'd have to follow up on. But overall, it's nothing, is my understanding. Will Bull come? Will the Bull Roar come again online at the weekend? No, not at the weekend. Bull Roar will be going live again with another preview of Update 24. We did do our first. Oh yeah, it's actually been a huge week for news. Jeepers criminy! I keep on forgetting because we've had these short-term things keep popping up. But we went live with our first Update 24, Veils of Anduin preview on the Bull Roar public preview server, in addition to our very first 64-bit client preview on Bull Roar. But I'm sure nobody wants to talk about 64-bit client. That never comes up on the live stream.
Mm-hmm.
So, can you show us the 64-bit client Bull Roar? I could if I had been better prepared. Actually, I probably should have double-checked to make sure I could do that on this computer and take advantage of it and then get it ready for you. I'll try to make a note of that for next week. Additionally, Update 24 has got some virtue changes that are in a particularly early state, so any of the kind of stuff you see on Bull Roar at this point is really too early even to preview. But you can get kind of a big picture approach as to maybe what's going on there, and just let the details fall into place during a later preview. There are some other things, too, that are worth checking out. You could actually read the entire release notes there over on the Lotro.com forums, over on the Bull Roar forums. And overall, one of my goals here in the coming weeks is to try to avoid making any kind of personal promises that are going to come back to bite me regarding any sort of like status of client and things like that. But I would say that the initial feedback's been quite good on this Bull Roar 64-bit client. So that's great. Great news to hear. And yes, as a matter of fact, Bloodborne, great point. He says there may be some videos out there on some people's YouTube channels. Yes, yours in particular is a good one, because I know you're techie enough. So I know Bloodborne's put together some stuff. That's probably even a better one to look at. Any changes on the scroll grind? No. What was the last word we've said on that, though? I mean, I think the last word is really we're aware. We do intend to take a look at it, and we'll provide more detail when... That issue in particular is not one I just kind of want to just answer off the top of my head without proper consideration.
Blood's not the only one who previewed this 64-bit client and Update 24 the other day.
Great. Awesome. Do you have any videos or anything to share?
Yes, it's a VOD on both my YouTube and my regular channel.
Mm-hmm. By the way, Cord, when is the 128-bit client coming? It's we're actually going backwards. We're going to make a 56K client that'll run on diskette, 5 1/4 inch flop, 5.5, right? Yeah, 5.5 inch floppy.
5 1/4.
And it's, man, is it a lot of discs, but it's super cool. Yep.
Of course, and none of these clients count until you get the Atari 2600 client going.
Shh, don't talk about my secret project. Yeah, 5 1/4 or 3.5. That's what I thought. I wasn't sure of the 1/4.5 part all of a sudden. So there you go. All right. Yes, you'll be able to play it on Laserdisc. It's going to be kind of like Dragon's Lair. It'll be pretty neat, I think. So, if the 64-bit client comes out, is it recommended to reinstall the game? No, you should be fine with the game client that will update. And there'll be an option in the launcher to run either 64-bit or 32-bit. And depending on your capabilities or needs, you can run one or either. Now, why would you want to run a 32-bit initially? Probably the question I imagine you're going to ask Druid's Fire, so why don't you just go ahead and ask it?
Wait, what, huh?
You're going to ask a question about the 64-bit client. And I thought maybe you would just kind of psychically know what I was going to ask about, but when are we going to support...
Oh, well, especially since Master Kangas of the Mardi Gras Party Band is in the house. When will support be supported? Because with no Lua, there are no plugins, therefore no music community unless they use this 32-bit client. And also, anybody who uses plugins for accessibility reasons is left out of the cold.
Yes. Understood. Is the answer to that one. It is not on this version of Bullroar. It is our hope to get it in as soon as we can. I cannot today, 12:28 p.m. on May 3rd, promise that it's going to be in time for update 24. Which is why some people who maybe particularly need or want Lua scripting may initially need to continue using the 32-bit version, which again is just going to be a little drop down in the launcher until we get it implemented. But the plan is to get it implemented as soon as we can. Marfus, you mentioned on the forums the Virtue system is in very early stages, not really supposed to be on Bullroar. I don't know if it's not really supposed to be on Bullroar, or it's just more a matter of there were pieces that were in a previewable state. The Virtue update was not one of them, but the process of sort of hand removing all those change lists and that was such that it's just not it's too much to really feasibly do. So we just sort of left it in, knowing that it was in a particularly early state there. When can we expect when can we expect a more fleshed out version to be previewed? My guess is in the next couple of weeks. I don't know specifically what Lotro's QA plans are for next week. I don't want to promise a preview when there may not be one that they are working on, but assuming they're working at least one within the next week or two, you should start seeing that come together pretty quickly once a slew of kind of development work actually makes it into the game client, or the version of the game client that's being previewed on Bullroar. I don't think we're going to be able to do a Bullroar wine client. Or actually, didn't we have one?
Say again?
Let me double check that. Check to make sure there isn't already a Bullroar wine client, but otherwise, I'm going to have to follow up on that. I could have sworn that we had one at least being worked on. I just don't know what the state of that is. I thought it was already out there. I thought Lord of the Squids kind of kicked out a URL yesterday on that. Maybe I'm wrong. I did mention plugins here. I'm just kind of going back in chat. Any chance for champs to get a damage buff? I do think that we will probably see some level of that when it's their turn to get some class work.
Yeah, the only wine client is the live one for Mac users.
Okay, let me... Fine. Let me do something extremely exciting and check my email live on the air. Yes. Lord of the Squids did kick this out yesterday. I'm going to kick it out in chat. Bullroar wine client. There we go. All right. So, yeah, I could have sworn, like I said, I was like, I could have sworn that was already out there. I didn't do it, though, because I was busy doing this other thing while Lord of the Squids made that post and told me in internal corporate chat that he had made that post. So, all right. Let's see. New hairstyles, facial hair, face structures. That would be cool. I don't know that that's on our short-term agenda here, but I'm sure we're down for it. someday in the future.
Is
The
it okay
game
if I ask?
download on the website is down, not working. Well, like I say, it could be literally while I was speaking here, and I was 10 minutes late getting started. I've been working with our network operations team to on your reports of patching issues and that. So it could be they temporarily just kind of took it away while they're investigating that. Can we have both 32-bit client and 64-bit client on the same box? Yes. It'll actually be the same launcher, frankly, and you'll just swap between the two if you need to. 98% of the folks are just going to move to one or the other and never change it again, but you can if you want to. Yep. How big would U24 be quest-wise? I'm going to leave that under wraps. It's pretty significant, though. It's pretty big. Yeah.
It's pretty though.
How do I feel the legendary servers instances have been running? In what regard? Are you saying that you're not having a good experience on the legendary servers or instances? Let's see. Champions already had problem to find a spot in raid. Now that burglar does more DPS. We are even in a worse position. What is going to be? I assume what is going to be is that Vastin has got a hit list on a whole bunch of classes that he's hoping to get done and fit in as often as he can. And at some point here, he'll get to that champion work and probably put it in a place that hopefully you're more satisfied with. But I could not, at this point, promise like an exact release date or anything like that. When will the game graphic be renewed? Man, it's like renewed at what, 120? No, how many times a second? A whole bunch. At the very least, it's probably 50 or 60 times a second. But otherwise, I would say that you'll see some level of improvement depending on your PC with the 64-bit client, because you may be able to bump up your graphic settings. Otherwise, kind of a widespread re-graphicization of the game, probably not. Probably not in the game's future. Julian Veronell, I have been busy, a little bit too busy to do a lot of the detail work on the 64-bit client feedback, especially as a lot of that work and feedback is catered to our 64-bit client engineers, things like that. So I don't know if others have reported that your mount felt like it was running more slowly than normal. Otherwise running very smoothly. I have not heard that myself personally, but that doesn't mean much because it's been a crazy couple of days. Will the new trait system on Bull Roar be released with the Veils of Anduin? Yes, that is the intention. I suppose theoretically we could pull it or something like that at the last minute, but the intention is to release it with Update 24, yes. Let's see. Will Bjorning Legacies be looked at in the near future? I have not heard of any plans to do that. So you said late last year something about a new class. Is that theoretically something we'll see for Minas Morgul, or is that a way far out thing? That's more of a way far out thing.
I knew when you said that it was going to bite us all in the butt.
Yeah, that was... I probably just shouldn't have said anything. What I meant to say at that time was I am sure that at some point in the future there will be a new class. I perhaps either did not state it correctly or perhaps it was kind of run with a little bit and extrapolated upon. Regardless, I any kind of thought that I quote promised a new class in the near future or something like that. Sorry if if you got that impression, then that's on me. Sorry. That's interesting, Al J. Bookworm. I've not heard of that one either. But like I say, the people who are really kind of crunching through all that, what I've been doing is calling together kind of raw dumps of feedback posts and things like that and passing it on to the team and the engineers, particularly when I see more technical kind of 64-bit client things. I make sure to send that on to the engineers and things like that as well. So I've been doing, frankly, a lot of that, less just kind of reading the nitty-gritty of who's been reporting what. ETA on 64 client live? Well, I guess we'll kind of have to see when it's ready, which is what we've always been saying. Potentially update 24 here, so. Will there be a dev diary or some form of information about the new Virtue Trait feature before it goes live? There will certainly have to be a lot more information released about what's all in it and what it does and how it's new for you and things like that. Whether that takes the form of a formal dev diary or something, or maybe it's just detail in the release notes, I don't know yet. But yeah, well, clearly we need to do something. How many of us will it take for y'all pay attention to the fact that many of us have been unable to play a load game for 2 days? It will take none of you, because I am well aware of this. I'm sorry, Robin. We are working on it. In case you missed the earlier part of the show here today, we are working on that. We're double checking our internal environment to make sure that things are good. So far, that appears to be yes. There are still some things you may need to do. One of them can be, well, it kind of depends on the nature of your issue, but you may, if you are particularly running into a patching or long-term login error, you are saying you've been unable to log in for 2 days. So I'm going to group you into this group, even if maybe this isn't the correct advice. You may wish to reinstall the Lotro game client through Lotro.com. Not through the LotroLive.exe application file that may still be located in your download folder, but through actual Lotro.com /en/game/download. But yes, we are aware of you, and we're working to get this resolved. One of the reasons I'm actually not doing gameplay today, and one of the reasons I may duck out maybe in 5 minutes or so, is because I'm working on getting that updated messaging out there, make sure that that we're correct, that the information's correct, and that I can get it out as soon as I can. So I'm aware that it's been a little longer than perhaps is ideal in terms of keeping people updated, but on the plus side, many players are in the game okay now. And for those who aren't, we feel your pain, we know you're frustrated, and we're working to resolve it. Pal Smiley, that is way too broad a question. Is Minas Morgul going to be the last expansion set in Mordor? I would not want to take any kind of bet on that one. I have no idea. I'm sure that if you asked the world builders, could you? I'm sure that the answer would be like, oh, heck yeah. You know? For what it's worth, the Lotro Steam client gave me nothing but trouble, and now using the client via Lotro.com have not crashed or had any issues since. Okay, that's probably worth perhaps considering as well. Is it supposed to be working since Tier 3? The Anvil Ray doesn't drop marks, and medallions over Tier 1 and 2 do drop marks and medallions. I don't know, Ellarissa. I will have to look into that one. I'm not prepared to answer that right now. Will level cap increase with Minas Morgul? Stay tuned. Nothing to announce at this time. All the download links are down. Oh my gosh. Like I said, I'm late on the show today because I was actually I was sitting in a cluster with the NetOps people, so it could well be that they've just temporarily pulled the downloads while they sort through stuff. Because you don't want, even if there's a hint that people are getting maybe the incorrect game client, like an outdated one or something, you want to drop that right away. So if you're running into an issue, just hang on. I would love to sell Lotro merch. My swell. I am definitely into that. Technically, the main hiccup on that is we're not a physical goods distributor. Neither is our publisher per se, and so it'd probably be through some kind of third party thing. But then there's like, you gotta, even though we technically have merchandising rights for Lotro, I think that rights doesn't translate to okay, now tomorrow you can start doing it, because you still have to work out, well, what about the other various license holders and things like that? Do they have any concerns or specifications or things like that? So the process gets pretty complicated pretty quickly, which is why it really hasn't been done at this point. But someday, I keep my fingers crossed. I keep pushing on it whenever I can. So someday, perhaps we could. At the very least, I would be very, very curious to see if I went onto one of the basic t-shirt printing places and got the full-fledged like SSG logo or something on a nice, decent t-shirt. Even if it was like a $25 shirt that we made zero money on, I wonder how many of you out there might get it. I have a theory in my head as to how many it would be, but I'm not going to say it out loud. I'm curious. I would love to know. I think at least a couple of you might. Yeah, Elarissa, I have not heard any talk about the necessity or not of Light of Arundel in the Minas Morgul expansion. I think that is far enough ahead that conversation maybe hasn't even really taken place. Court, last week on the anniversary stream, you said something like we could send you a message on the forums and ask for special stuff like pets and stuff. Any chance getting us anything, or was there just too many requests? Well, as a matter of fact, if it was something I was able to give you, then I probably did get back to you. I've had a little bit of time this week to do so. I did, however, unfortunately, one of the things I need to do for Lotro that I have for the other game but do not yet have for Lotro is a public wiki page on the Lotro wiki, this is the list of stuff Cordovan can give out during, public events and what it does. That work was done largely for me on the DDO side. After I gave Shoemaker the list of names and stuff. But perhaps I need to do that on the Lotro side, because I did get a lot of things this past week of, can I get like, I don't know, like 200 scrolls of empowerment? And I'm like, no, so. And on pets as well, I can't just give you any old pet. Generally, this is stuff that was specifically made for a community giveaway. So it's a pretty limited list. So probably, I would say a full third of the PMs I got this past week were things like, can't do that, sorry. And then probably a third were like, yeah, okay, here you go. So, and now I'm really going to get a lot of requests. Yep. Oh, thanks, pal. I actually have radio experience from my days. I used to be an AM radio guy. For whatever it is, the tone of my voice I've been told by radio station owners, so I assume it's correct. My voice resonates well on the AM band. So I often got AM gigs. I did do FM work though too. I even did classic rock work. I think it was, let me see if I can remember it. Let me see if I can do this quick. Don McLean Don McLean, American Pie on K-Wing 106.7. 56 degrees here over in the Red Wing Valley. Thanks, everyone, for watching. We got up next, Credence. How's that?
Don't quit your day job.
That was my day job. I had to do that off the top of my head, so. Oh, did it have to be made in the forums? Yes. Sorry, Charles from Facebook. This is rude of me, and I apologize. But for the most part, my in-game inbox is a wasteland of messages that I'll probably not read. I try to be a zero inbox person, except for both games inboxes, because I just can't keep up with most of the stuff that I get. I can't, I'm sorry. So yeah, you probably need to PM me on the forums. Can we really get some Credence? Oh yeah, for sure, man. I got the tape right here. Yeah.
And when he says tape, he means 8-track.
No, I got Credence on DAT tape. No, I don't have Credence on DAT tape. All right.
But you have them on vinyl, don't you?
Actually, I'm not a big, huge Credence fan. They're fine, but I don't have them on vinyl now. Are devs aware the percentage attack duration buffs aren't working as intended on Beornings and are instead having the opposite effect and actually increasing their attack duration? Larissa says. I will need to double check to make sure that that bug is in the system, but I am pretty sure the answer to are the devs aware on that one is yes. I would imagine we'll see that fixed in the near future. All right, let's see. I did want to thank everyone for the 12-hour live stream participation last week. I was actually kind of surprised by the turnout. I didn't really, honestly, I wasn't sure that we were going to get much of a crowd because, let's be honest, it was a little bit of a perhaps less momentous anniversary celebration than you know, like our 10th for obvious reasons. So I wasn't quite, and it was mostly just kind of me hanging out in the live game world, so I wasn't sure anyone was really going to care. But there were several hundred folks who pretty much stuck it out through the whole thing, and thousands of folks, literally thousands of folks, stopped by. So that is really much appreciated, and I want to thank everyone for doing that. Any kind of final thoughts here, Druid's Fire? Anything you want to mention?
I will be continuing my housing tour on my show later this afternoon.
Oh, sweet, yes.
Yeah, and you owe me that thing we talked about.
Mm-hmm.
It's in Slack, remember?
Right, and as a matter of fact, since we are on twitch.tv/LotroStream, I'm updating the calendar too, am I not? Who, do you recall who the newest... We've got Gravity.
Red Baron.
Yeah, Red Baron is joining the team here, and so I should have that up in the, probably by the end of the day today. And then additionally, we have got, let me make sure I've got that right.
Gravity's
is moving from Wednesday to Wednesday, same time and duration, 9 p.m. as Monday. So Gravity on Wednesdays, 9 p.m. Eastern instead of Mondays. So, all right. Thanks very much for watching. Really appreciate it. We'll be back next Friday at noon Eastern for more Court of the Rings. You can watch all sorts of great Lotro live streaming on twitch.tv/LotroStream all week long. And like we were just saying, you can even get the schedule over on LotroStream. Have fun, everyone, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.